Good afternoon. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory here with your afternoon weather show. We are still on alert through the weekend for this dangerous heat wave. We're still under an extreme heat warning today, tomorrow, and Sunday with a heat index well into the triple digits all 3 days. There's also an isolated chance of storms mainly late Sunday, and that's part of what is going to help break this heat wave then as we head into next week. I don't know if it brings you any kind of comfort to know this, but we're not the only ones dealing with this heat wave. We're kind of on the northeast corner here. This heat wave stretches all the way out west through Missouri and into Kansas, south into Oklahoma, Texas, and then down along the Gulf Coast, all the way across the entire state of Florida, and then back up parts of the southeast coast as well, including North and South Carolina. So several states dealing with this heat wave right now, including us here at home. Much of the tri-state is under an extreme heat warning until 8 p.m. Sunday. So it's going to be just as hot, if not hotter, as we go through the weekend. Our temperatures right now are sitting in the upper 80s to low to mid 90s, just depending on your location. It's 89 right now in Evansville, but it's 92 in Owensboro and Madisonville. And it feels like we're in the upper 90s to low triple digits. Evansville has a heat index of 99. But Madisonville feels like 101, and Owensboro has a heat index all the way up to 109 right now. And it feels so much hotter than it actually is because our dew points are sitting in the mid to upper 70s right now. That means that muggy meter is just maxed out up here in that stifling range. This is that sticky, just oppressive air you can wear, almost hard to breathe in kind of humidity, and that makes it feel so much hotter than it actually is because your body's natural process for cooling itself starts to break down in this kind of humidity. That's the whole reason we sweat, is to cool ourselves down. Our bodies like to stay around 98.6. When it's hot outside, your body temperature begins to rise, then we sweat. That sweat is released from your skin, and then that water, that sweat, evaporates. When that happens, that transfers the heat from your body into the air through evaporative cooling. So it pulls the heat from your body out into the air. The problem is when it's too humid, that sweat has nowhere to go. The air is already so full of moisture that it can't take your sweat. It doesn't have anywhere to put it. And so you just end up drenched, miserable, and not any cooler. So this is an example of a dry versus a humid heat. In both of these scenarios, the temperature is 88 degrees, but in one, the humidity is much lower. There's a lot less moisture in the atmosphere compared to the situation on the right. So as both of our little smiley face people here begin to sweat as they get too hot, their body needs to cool itself down. In the situation on the left here, that sweat evaporates as soon as it hits that person. In this scenario, they sweat and they sweat and they sweat and they just end up drenched, miserable, not any cooler. And so that's why we talk so much about the heat index. That's how hot it actually feels to your body compared to how hot it actually is. Because when that humidity is so high, your body's natural process of sweating and having that sweat evaporate, it doesn't work anymore. And so then you end up feeling much hotter than you already would be due to that heat. Overnight tonight, not a lot of relief. It's still going to be very warm, very muggy. Temperatures only falling back into the mid to upper 70s again tonight. Then tomorrow, even hotter than today. We're talking about highs in the mid to maybe even upper 90s. This weekend is going to be some of, if not the hottest weather we have had this entire year. And again, it's not just hot, it's also humid. And so when you factor that in, as we get into Saturday and Sunday both, we're looking at a heat index peaking close to 110 degrees. Now you'll notice we do finally start to see some relief as we get into early next week, Monday and Tuesday. I mean, that's still pretty hot, but nothing compared to this weekend. And what's most important is we get out of the danger zone. That danger zone is considered 105 or higher for the heat index. At that point, you really see this drastic increase in the risk of things like heat exhaustion and heat cramps, and even heat stroke, which can be deadly, becomes more likely at that point. So that's why when we get to 105 or higher for that heat index, you start seeing alert days, heat advisories, extreme heat warnings, things like that, because there's much increased risk of heat-related illnesses. So today we're sitting at a major risk of heat-related illnesses, a level 3 on a scale of 4. Tomorrow and Sunday both, we are right on the cusp here of a major to even extreme risk of heat-related illnesses. Notice little bits of purple starting to pop up in the tri-state. So it is going to be dangerously hot this weekend. But watch what happens as we get to Monday. That heat starts to push off to our south. We pull back to just a level 2 moderate risk of heat-related illness. We're still going to have a heat index up around 100. So if you're, out there doing some real hard work, you're not drinking enough water, you're not taking breaks, there's still that risk, but it's more of the typical risk we would see in the summer months here in the tri-state. So then we just kind of oscillate at a minor to moderate risk of heat-related illnesses then as we go through the rest of next week, which again, still hot, but more just kind of typical August heat. But especially as we go through this weekend, I really urge you to keep heat safety in mind. Strenuous activity, any kind of hard work, something that's going to get you sweating and breathing heavy, you need to cancel that or move it to a cooler time of day. Do it first thing in the morning or later in the evening, not in the middle of the day where it's going to be hot and sunny. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothing. The color of your clothes really makes a huge difference. You are going to feel that sun and that heat a lot more if you're wearing dark clothes than if you are wearing light clothes. So white, yellow, things like that. Don't go for, black and navy, not in this kind of heat, okay? Drink lots of water, or if you're not a water drinker, just anything that's non-alcoholic that is going to help hydrate you. I'd really encourage you to drink, Gatorade, Powerade, juice, but really water is the best. And be sipping on something to drink even when you don't feel thirsty. If you feel thirsty, that's your body telling you it needs hydration. You want to get out ahead of that. So be sipping on some water before you get to the point where you're feeling thirsty. And finally, don't get too much sun. A lot of folks are going to be hitting the pools this weekend to get some relief from the heat. That's fine, but remember your sunscreen, because a sunburn makes it that much harder for your body to regulate its temperature. Anybody who's had a bad sunburn knows it almost feels like you have a fever, right? So your body is already going to be struggling to regulate its temperature because, as we said, that natural process of evaporating your sweat, that is not going to be working in this kind of humidity. Throw a sunburn into that and you're really just making it that much harder on yourself. So please be very wary of the heat this weekend. Tomorrow and Sunday will be some of the hottest days so far this summer, maybe the hottest days we've had so far at all this year. So some major, serious, dangerous kind of heat over the weekend. This is not normal summertime heat. This is dangerous. Now, as we get into next week, that's when we start to get into more of that just typical August, dog days of summer kind of heat. Part of what is going to help break this heat is this chance of thunderstorms, which is kind of part 2 of this alert day. That is mainly on Sunday. We did have some rain north of the tri-state earlier today. That has just kind of fallen apart though. So that rain has rained itself out now. And then there have been a few more just very spotty showers that have popped up just outside of the tri-state in the heat of the afternoon, but we haven't had any of those here at home, so we're still mostly sunny. I wouldn't rule out a stray shower popping up this afternoon, but we'll most likely stay dry through the rest of this evening, and overnight tonight as well will be mostly clear. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and just very hot all day long on Saturday, and then mostly clear, warm and muggy through the night Saturday night. By Sunday, there's a very isolated chance we could catch a stray shower Sunday morning, but most of us will probably stay dry through most of the day on Sunday. So again, we're just focused on the heat during the daylight hours. Sunday night is when we have this chance of storms that starts to pop up along a cold front. Notice the wind arrows here. All weekend, we're going to have this hot, muggy air just flowing in from the south. But notice as these storms roll through, our wind direction starts to change. So We do have this chance of some scattered storms Sunday evening into the overnight hours Sunday night, and then it looks like that rain will start to push out of here Monday morning. I wouldn't be shocked if we still see a few showers wrapping around on the backside of the system into Monday afternoon or Monday evening, but it does seem like the best chance of thunderstorms will be overnight Sunday night into very early Monday, and that does change our wind direction, and it's going to break up the heat and humidity a little bit. There is an isolated chance that one or two of those storms could be strong or even severe as those storms push through Sunday evening into Sunday night. The tri-state is sitting at a level 1 risk for an isolated severe storm. So widespread severe weather is not expected here. That level 1 risk stretches from Missouri through the tri-state all the way to the East Coast. And then some folks mainly out around Virginia are sitting at a level 2 risk for severe weather. So the better chance for those strong to severe storms on Sunday will be to our east. If we do get any strong to severe storms Sunday night, heavy rain and damaging winds seem to be like the two main threats. But again, overall, our severe weather risk is very low, but that is a factor in that alert day. Both Saturday and Sunday, the alert is primarily for that heat, but it does extend into Sunday night for that risk of a few thunderstorms. But thankfully, that does bring us a little bit of relief with highs then in the upper 80s to low 90s throughout next week, which is much more typical for this time of year compared to the mid to upper 90s with triple-digit heat index values that we'll have throughout this weekend. Let me check in on the comments here. Good afternoon, Mary Beth and Arden. Mary Beth is asking if we're going to get any rain. I doubt we'll see any rain until Sunday evening into Sunday night, Mary Beth. We may get a stray shower somewhere this afternoon, but chances of that seem pretty slim. And I really don't see any rain popping up tomorrow either. So we'll probably stay dry. Maybe a shower Sunday morning, but most of us will probably stay dry until Sunday evening. And Zach is asking about the severe thunderstorm threats, which we just talked about. There is this level 1, a very isolated chance for severe weather Sunday evening into the overnight hours Sunday night for some heavy rain and strong winds. But overall, our risk of severe weather seems low, Zach. And yes, Suzanne says it sure is hot. If that is not an understatement, Suzanne, it is very, very hot. And it's going to get even hotter as we go through the weekend. So again, we remain on alert through Saturday and Sunday too. Then we've got a cold front moving through. That brings us that chance of rain Sunday night into Monday. Overall, our severe weather risk seems very low with that though. And then we continue to see more typical temperatures then as we get into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even into Thursday and Friday. So if you need to get out and mow your grass, I will say none of these days look like a washout. It's not bad rain wise, but it's going to be so hot this weekend that if you can just kick that can down the road, let the grass grow a little longer, I would wait and mow my grass next week if you've got the time. As for what August has brought us so far, we started out very, very cool. A high of only 79 back on the 1st. It was kind of a cloudy, cool, and rainy start to the month. Man, we sure flipped the script though by the next weekend. We've been in the 90s every day since last Friday, so that's a full week of temperatures in the 90s. The hottest days were Monday and Tuesday when we hit a high of 96, but I think we'll get just as hot, if not hotter, as we get into this upcoming weekend. We did have some thunderstorms on Wednesday, even some severe ones, some tornadoes in our region. We did put down more than 1.5 inches of rain with those storms on Wednesday, so that really made up the shortfall that we were running on rain so far this month. We're at nearly 2 inches of rain now, which is a 1/2 inch more than normal, as August is typically a fairly hot, dry month. We're still running about 3 inches short on rain for the year, but you have to keep in mind we had such a dry spring. We were in drought for much of the spring, so we're still kind of coming back from that. Our average temperature is running about 2 degrees warmer than normal. Obviously, we've been in the 90s for the entire past week, and our overnight lows are also running warmer than normal, as even at night we don't get a ton of relief with those lows only falling into the mid to upper 70s, and that continues through this weekend. Then we see a return to more typical August heat as we get into next week. Looking beyond that next weekend, so from August 22nd, Saturday, August 22nd, through the following week, the general trend is just kind of typical precipitation. There's not a real clear signal toward a rainy or dry pattern either way. As for our temperatures, though, there is a general trend toward slightly above average temperatures, but as of right now, it does seem like the risk of any sort of hazardous heat, along with rapid onset drought, that kind of extreme heat, that is expected to stay to our south as we get into the following weekend. So it may still be hot through the end of the month, but it doesn't seem like we have any more dangerous heat in the forecast once we get through this weekend. At least that's the trend right now. You know how things can change around here. So there's one last look at your 7-day forecast. I'm going to take one more check in at the comments here. You're welcome, Mary. Laura watching from Dawson Springs. Always appreciate you tuning in. Again, we are on alert for dangerous heat through this weekend. Then a cold front does bring us a chance of a few storms Sunday evening, overnight, and into Monday. But that cold front, in addition to bringing us a chance of a few storms, is going to break this heat a little bit. It's not going to be refreshing. It's just going to feel like August is supposed to, with highs in the upper 80s to low 90s then as we go through next week. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll have an updated look at your forecast on 14 News tonight at 4, 5, 6, and 10. And I'll do another streaming show here tonight at 9. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join